Hi, my name is Maria and I'm going to talk about Asia and its countries where English is spoken. I'm going to explain the gastronomy, touristic places, and the traditions of these five countries. In first place, Philippines. Its cuisine is based on rice, like many other countries. Contact and trade with China since the 10th century gave Philippines uh, ingredients that are essential for its gastronomy. Then, Tuahatas Reef is the most visited place in Philippines. It's a marine sanctuary and is protected by the Tuahata Reef National Marine Park. And about its traditions, um, Sinulog Festival is the most important and well-known festival in this country. People around all over the world gather together in Cebu City to celebrate it. The second one is India. Tandoori chicken is the best known dish of its wide gastronomy. It's a chicken cooked in a special oven called tandoori, hence the name of the recipe. Then Taj Mahal is obviously a must-see if you go to India, and it is called a tear sorry on the cheek of eternity. One of its greatest tradition is the red dot on the forehead between the eyes. We could say that is a characteristic element in Indian culture. Now, I'm going to talk about Malaysia. Hokkien Mee are fried noodles, typical throughout the country but especially in Kuala Lumpur. Petronas Twin Towers have become a symbol of pride and progress that Malaysia has achieved in a short period of time. Wesak Day, as in all Buddhist countries, gives you the opportunity to witness this important event that marks the three main milestones of Buddha: his birth, enlightenment, and nirvana. The fourth one is Pakistan. Chicken tikka is one of the most popular foods in this country, both for its taste and its nutritional values. It's a hefty serving of chicken slaughtered in pieces and then grilled to perfection. Wazir Khan Mosque is an architectural masterpiece, richly decorated. The inside has not changed since the 17th century, and Islamic traditions follows the lunar calendar. The most important one is Eid ul Fitr, lasting 3 days and ending the month of Ramadan. Last one is Singapore. Wetang chicken is the national dish of this country. It contains spicy red chili sauce and tender steamed chicken. Gardens by the Bay is one of the most beautiful gardens around the world and one of the most essential places to see if you go to this country. And for conclude, Harvest Festival celebrated in mid-January by the South Indians. In this celebration, the rice harvest is honored as an essential product here as well in almost Asia, as I've said before.
Hi, I'm Nerea Perez, and I'm going to talk about Oceania. This continent has many territories in which English is the official language. Some of these countries are Australia, Fiji, Marshall Islands, New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea, among others. As my classmates have done, I will talk about gastronomy, some traditions, and several tourist sites. The food that are used in their dishes are characteristic of their area, such as lamb, pork, venison, salmon, lobster, oyster, mussels, and pipi, a typical clam of Oceania. In the Fiji Islands, a traditional cuisine is a mixture of the cuisines of Polynesia, Melanesia, China, and the West. It is very important to know that much of your kitchen is important. That is, it is built on the basis of food prepared in the neighboring countries. Regarding the traditions and some customs of this continent, the original cultures of Oceania are made up of the native Aboriginal groups of Australia, Polynesia, Melanesia, and Micronesia. Within the native groups of the Australian territory, there is not one but several ethnic groups with different traditions and with different cultural practices. There is a common denominator in art, that is Australian Aboriginal art, which is unique and the most international recognized. Regarding music, the didgeridoo is considered the national instrument of the Australian Aborigines, and it is recognized as the oldest wind instrument in the world. One of the aspects that stand out from the traditions of native Australian groups is the so-called wallabout, a rite of passage for Aboriginal teenagers who go on 6-month trip through the Australian deserts without contact with anyone. Finally, I will mention some tourist sites that you have to visit if you visit Oceania. For example, the Fiji Islands are 3,000 islands, 300 islands where you can do a lot of planned activities such as surfing, windsurfing, diving, feeding sharks, going whale watching, a lot of. Then called Ayers Rock. There's another one of the locations that you should visit in Oceania if you plan to travel to this continent. And this rock is located in the center of Australia and reaches 348 meters in height, and it is also one of the emblematic pictures of the country. Is so famous. One of its curious characteristics is that depending on how the light falls on it through the day, it can be seen in different colors, from brown to pink and deep red. Finally, you should visit Australia and Sydney, the opera.
English is the official language in various countries in Africa, but it is actually spoken in Kenya, Uganda, South Africa, Nigeria, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Cameroon. Although English is now a common language in many African countries, especially among young people, many Africans still see it as a colonial language, particularly in the former British colonies. For example, in Tanzania, a British protectorate, Kiswahili is both the national language and the language of instruction in institutions of learning. Many rulers, like for example the Tanzanians, have used the Kiswahili as a symbol of national unity to promote socialism and nationality. But compared to other foreign languages such as French, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese, English is the most widely spoken language in Africa. Even some countries, like Rwanda, decided to abandon French and immediately adopt English. This is mainly because English has become a sign of progress in many parts of Africa. Even many African people, especially the young generations, believe that being polite means speaking English. Typical African cuisine is delicious. However, African dishes, especially those further south, remain highly underrated on the international culinary scene. The cuisine of the Black Continent is as diverse as the hundred of cultural and groups that inhabit the continent. This rich diversity is reflected in the many local culinary traditions in terms of the choice of ingredients, style of preparation, and cooking techniques. African cuisine has been heavily influenced by foreign visitors as well as invaders and imported foods such as potatoes, tomatoes, and cinnamon. In East Africa, the Arab influence is evident. Islamic and Christian beliefs have had a great impact on food. For example, pork is not eaten for Islamic people, and Christians have many meatless fast days, which has increased the use of legumes. As a curious fact, it is in South Africa where the act of eating insects is more widespread. Every year, the African continent welcomes more tourists, increasing the number of annual tourists, although gradually. It is believed that tourism can be the salvation for many people in Africa, especially the rural areas, and it is really a means of development and growth for them. Africa has the second largest population in the world, divided into approximately 3,000 tribes, thus coexisting more than 2,100 languages. We find diversity of religions, natural wonders, and landforms. Africa encompasses the largest river in the world, the Nile, and in turn is also home for the largest desert in the world, the Sahara. We find many more such as Victoria Falls, Mount Kilimanjaro, and the island of Madagascar. Many tourists come to Africa interested in these wild animals, and even others are interested in safaris and hunting animals, since Africa is the habitat of many animals unique to the continent itself. In terms of customs and traditions, it's obvious that not everyone follows the same ones. On many occasions, due to the large number of different indigenous tribes, the customs and traditions are different. Each tribe has its own custom rites, ceremonies, its god, or even the way of dress and behave is different. Among the best known tribes in Africa, we find Holy Tribe, the Cannibals of Africa, Bariba Horsemen, which are a tribe known for the horses and the decorations of them, and the Karo are distinguished by their white paintings that stand out all over the body. Many others are known for their tattoos or dilatations. As we have just seen, Africa has wonderful places, people, and obviously English-speaking countries due to the old British colonies.
Hi, I am Jonathan and I will introduce two famous English-speaking countries in America, rules you should follow, and I will also mention some places you must visit if you go there. Before starting, and considering that I have no time to explain everything deeply, I will be focusing on the United States of America and on Canada. However, there are many other countries where English is spoken too. I will now proceed to talk about the USA, and as you might know, this country contains the highest number of English speakers in the world. That's why I'd like to explain some rules you must follow unless you want to be embarrassed more than once. First and obvious, people in the USA don't like others getting close to them, so you should try to stay as far as you can from people or they will get mad. Second, do not even try to creep on women for two reasons. It's disgusting, and you might get arrested even if your intention was not to annoy them. Third, this one funny. Don't you dare compare the USA with other countries. American people think their country is the best one, and they will simply tell you to go back to your country if you ain't comfy there. Next one is to avoid talking about gender, obesity, race, politics, or making dark humor. And if you do so, then you will get in trouble easily. And the last one, don't get close to children unless their parents know your intentions, or you might be seen as a pedophile, and I don't think nobody wants that. And now I'll talk about places, which I consider the most important part when visiting another country, when traveling. First, we have the Grand Canyon, which might be a great experience for those who are not scared of heights. Then we have Yellowstone National Park, which is a good option for those who love nature. Then we have Maui and Honolulu if you are looking for urban and or beach environments. New York City, San Francisco, New Orleans, and Washington DC are all a must-see, unless you don't like visiting cities full of people, high buildings, and jobs. Now it's time to go for Canada, and I'll follow the same structures I used before. While staying there, you mustn't first assume that Toronto is the capital of Canada. And it's true that Toronto is one of Canada's major cities, but it's just not acceptable for people, so you must know that I'll follow the same structure.
Be seen.
Do not say anything wrong about Tim Hortons, since it's much more than a coffee shop for them, and don't disrespect maple syrup for the same reason. Canadian people are really polite, so they will say sorry for almost everything, and you must apologize too when they do so. Another example for this is that you can't rush into a bus or train while people are still getting off. And finally, do not talk about if the weather is good or not, no matter what, and try to avoid this situation as much as you can. And last, I'll talk about places you must visit if you come to Canada. First, we have Banff, which is great for those who are nature enthusiasts and luxury seekers. Then we have Vancouver, Montreal, Quebec City, and Toronto, which are the best places for those who prefer visiting cities, and they are also a good way to notice how different is every city in Canada. Then we have Niagara Falls, which is one of the most attractive places to take pics of. And finally, we have Prince Edward Island, which is probably the best place if you're looking for a relaxing respite.
Hello, I'm Matt, and I'm going to talk about the continent Europe, telling some of the traditions and curiosities of the English-speaking countries. The United Kingdom, Ireland, and Malta are the only 3 English-speaking countries in all Europe. That is, they have Shakespeare as their official language. Firstly, in the United Kingdom, a curious tradition that the English have is the Day of the Pancake, which takes place on Tuesday of Carnival, which in turn is the Tuesday that falls 41 days before the beginning of the spring and is related to the eve of the last of the fast of Lent. Another tradition, yes, a little more known worldwide, is a tea time that occurs between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. when arriving from work. Also, rugby is a very common sport, and extreme punctuality is essential for them. Then in Ireland, Saint Patrick is the patron saint of the country, and is celebrated every March 17. The most typical and characteristic of the party is that everyone goes out on the street with something green and a clover. Another thing is the hola. That is a ball sport that is played with a stick, which gives the game its name, and a ball the size of a tennis ball with teams of 15 players. Moreover, leprechauns are the elves that wait at the end of the rainbow, and they come from this country, from Ireland. Finally, Malta. There is an archipelago formed by the islands of Malta, Comino, and Gozo. All 3 covered 316 square kilometers. That is half of the area of Madrid. In fact, Valletta, its capital, is one of the smallest in Europe. Furthermore, each church has 2 clocks. there is a historical behind this fact, and that is that the first of them indicates the time correctly, and in the second, the nails are marked differently to confuse the devil and thus ensure the proper functioning of religious services. This doesn't mean that they are the only countries that speak English better in Europe. In order of more to less frequent English speaking, we find Sweden, number one. It is where we can find more English speakers. Then we have Netherlands, Norway, number 4, Finland, number 5, Slovenia, Estonia, Luxembourg, Poland, and Austria. Spain is in the 19th place in Europe, while globally we are in the 23rd place. We are therefore ahead of countries such as Italy, Japan, or France. So, thank you for your attention